Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to the Marlinated Mindstate. Now, recently we've all heard the story of the young brother by the name of Nolan Wells. He's a young brother that went on a boat party with his friends for 4th of July, like 3 or 4 of his white friends, and somehow ended up missing, ended up drowned, and nobody know nothing about what happened, how he drowned, where he was at. But somehow they had a hold of his cell phone. We've heard the story. It done got major national, worldwide news, and the racial aspect in it all has just magnified this case. But there's a case in the Dallas area, little town, probably a little east of Dallas, that you may not have heard a lot about. The actual incident happened a few months ago, but there was a major development in the case within the past 24, 48 hours. So what I want to do is I want to play this news story. We're going to dive into the details as much as possible. And then, I'm going to give my take on this story myself. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. If you're watching this on Patreon, I want to thank you guys for make sure you join the Patreon. Because most of these stories like this, I'm going to put here instead of the YouTube channel, because there may be some things that I want to say that need to be said that I don't need it being censored or blocked or demonetized. Hell, if it's going to be free, I might as well make sure that you can see it. Let's hit it.
We have a major break tonight to tell you about in the death of a North Texas teen. It was supposed to be a fun day of fishing for 3 young men at Lake Ray Hubbard. Instead, it turned deadly after the group jumped in to swim, and 18-year-old Daniel Erving never resurfaced. Now, months later, police have arrested a 19-year-old they say tried to cover up and hide what actually happened that day.
I want to go back real quick. This is the bridge that supposedly they jumped off to go swimming. Okay? Jumped off this bridge. So they're going fishing and swimming, and they jumped off this bridge to go swimming. Keep that in mind.
Erving never resurfaced. Now, months later, police have arrested a 19-year-old they say tried to cover up and hide what actually happened that day. Fox 4's Alex Boyer picks up our top story from there.
According to Dallas police, text messages prove that the victim and suspect knew each other and had made plans to meet up and go to a lake back in April. Now, the victim, Daniel Erving, never came home. His mom reported him missing. It wasn't until nearly 3 months after his body was recovered that police have made an arrest in connection to the case.
19-year-old Lucas Roper is accused of tampering with evidence in connection to the drowning death of 18-year-old Daniel Erving in Lake Ray Hubbard back in April.
Why didn't fix his
Erving's
collar?
body was discovered on April 17th, 4 days after he is believed to have drowned. Erving had reportedly gone to the lake with Roper and a juvenile suspect to swim and go fishing. Days after his body was recovered, Erving's family held this news conference demanding answers.
What do we want? Justice for Daniel Erving. Amen. When do we want it? Now.
Erving's family said then that they wanted a full and transparent investigation. On July 9th, Roper was arrested by Dallas police on 1 count of tampering with physical evidence. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, Roper was interviewed by detectives after Erving's body was found. Roper told police after the 3 of them had jumped into the lake from the railroad track bridge, Erving drowned and Roper panicked. Instead of calling 911, the affidavit states Roper told investigators he deleted all communication with Daniel Erving from his cell phone.
Now, the question is, why would you panic to the point of deleting cell phone messages? Why would you panic? Period. Because it's a drowning. It's not like you killed the boy, right? He accidentally drowned. So why would you panic? Because as in like the situation in Mississippi, I don't know. I don't think they panicked. And well, they say there were some messages may have been deleted from his phone. And now they're saying that he was probably at the pool party after the fact. They thought he had drowned, went missing. So it's a whole lot of things going on. But for actual factual, if someone drowns accidentally, the first thing you do is call 911 to get, the Coast Guard. This is a lake, so I guess the what is it called? The parks and recreation people to come out there and get them boats out there to go look for this fellow. But you didn't do that. But we're going to continue so y'all can hear exactly everything that happened.
Adding that Roper confirmed he was aware that there would be an investigation into Daniel Erving's death, and he did not want to get into trouble, and states Roper threw Daniel Erving's clothes in the tree line as they fled the location. The juvenile suspect also told investigators he admitted he threw Daniel Erving's cell phone from the vehicle after suspect Roper told him to.
We, the family, are deeply inclined. These individuals intended on no one looking for Daniel, fighting for Daniel, advocating for Daniel.
Erving's siblings said his young life was full of promise.
He had just begun his recruitment to the U.S. Army. He was trained with discipline. He carried himself with a purpose. He believed in building a life of service.
This has been tough on our family. Daniel was our protector, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. He was a good kid, and he just didn't deserve that.
Roper was booked into the Dallas County Jail. I can tell you that his bond has been set at $10,000. Now, we don't know the status of the juvenile suspect. Because he is a minor, Dallas police are not releasing any additional information. Reporting at Dallas Police Headquarters, Alex Boyer, Fox 4 News.
Okay, so you heard this story again. Why would you panic if it was an accidental drowning? Why would you throw his clothes in a tree line, throw his cell phone out of the car when you're leaving because you're afraid they're going to investigate a drowning? Are you serious? Even if they investigated, if you didn't do anything, it doesn't matter, right? But anyway, let me get into the details. I want to dive a little bit deeper into this, so to make sure we don't miss anything. Now, the incident, the victim is 18-year-old Daniel Erving, a North Texas teenager who had recently begun recruitment into the U.S. Army. Now, on April 13th, Erving went to Lake Ray Hubbard with two other individuals to fish and swim. Now, Lake Ray Hubbard is like in Rowlett, Rockwall Rowlett area. It's east of Dallas. Just east of Dallas, maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Probably not even that far away. About 30 minutes east of Dallas, like seriously. It's a nice lake out there. Always construction on the doggone highways. Anyway, so the group jumped into the lake from a railroad track bridge. Erving never resurfaced and tragically drowned. After his mother reported him missing, Erving's body was recovered 4 days later on April 17, 2026. Now, the suspect that was arrested on July 9th, 2026, nearly 3 months after the drowning, Dallas police arrested 19-year-old Lucas Roper. Roper was booked into the Dallas County Jail and charged with one count of tampering with physical evidence. His bond was set at $10,000. Y'all saw that. A second juvenile suspect was involved in the incident because he's a minor. His status and identity have not been publicly released by the police. Now, according to the arrest warrant affidavit, instead of calling 911 when Erving drowned, Roper panicked and took several actions to hide what happened because he did not want to get into trouble. Said the Roper deleted all communication with Erving from his cell phone, despite text messages later proving they had planned the lake trip together. Roper threw Erving's clothes into a nearby tree line as they fled the scene. Roper instructed the juvenile suspect to throw Erving's cell phone out of their vehicle as they drove away, which the juvenile admitted to doing. And the Erving's family, who held a press conference shortly after the body was found, expressed deep grief and noted that his young life was full of promise. They stated they felt the suspects intentionally tried to ensure no one would look for Erving. Why would you not want to look for Erving? What did y'all do to this brother to where you felt you were scared that they was going to investigate, as if they may arrest you for murder? Is that what you was afraid of? Now we're gonna have now some for additional information we got here. It said the trio jumped from a railroad bridge located near Miller Road and Rowlett over Lake Ray Hubbard. Dallas police detectives originally tracked down and interviewed Lucas Roper on April 20th, 2026, just 3 days after Erving's body was recovered. The interview took place at Satch's High School, or Saxon. Is it Satch's or Saxon? I can't remember. The Rowlett Police Department handled the initial missing persons report and successfully recovered Erving's clothes from the tree line and his discarded cell phone. Data pulled from Erving's phone allowed investigators to see the calls and text logs between him and Roper from April 13th, exposing that Roper had entirely wiped those same conversations from his own device. So the affidavit reveals slight variations in how the evidence was handled between the two co-defendants. The 17-year-old juvenile told police that Roper personally threw Erving's clothes into the brush before they fled. Roper claimed they both threw the clothes, but admitted he was the one who explicitly ordered the 17-year-old toss Erving's phone out of the car window as he drove them away. The nearly 3-month gap between the drowning in April and the arrest in July sparked significant public outcries from local civil rights organizations. Where is Lee Merritt? I know Ben Crump is out there in Mississippi. Where's Lee Merritt? Lee Merritt is connected to the Dallas area. I haven't seen him talk about this case yet. But anyway, Dominique Alexander, oh Lord, not Dominique Alexander, anyway. Dominique Alexander, the president of Next Generation Action Network, publicly condemned local law enforcement's handling of the case. In statements released to the media, NGAN, that's a hell of an acronym, criticized the Rowlett Police Department for a perceived lack of urgency when Erving, a young black student, was first reported missing. The advocacy group stated the family was initially met with delay and dismissal, even though it was clear other individuals present at the scene failed to call 911 and left the victim behind. That's what's going to get you in trouble. And then you already heard about the legal current status. While the Dallas Police Department is leading the active death investigation, community advocates confirmed that the 17-year-old juvenile is also in custody alongside Roper. DPD has signaled that the investigation remains open and that additional or upgraded charges may still be filed as they look close into the circumstance of the drowning itself. One thing I say about the police, no matter how you feel about them, no matter if you feel like some of this is racial as to how they pursued the case, they will, for the most part, look for all information, facts, and evidence before they put anything out or before they move forward publicly. They probably arrested this guy and a juvenile because they needed to, in order to be able to talk to him, get him behind bars, to the police precinct or what have you, get him in interrogation room. They need to arrest him and have a reason to hold him for however amount of time. That's the best way they're going to get some evidence. And then especially you got a juvenile there. They say there's no information that's released, but I'm sure he has a bond equal to this guy, this Roper guy. So it's a good chance that the police are going to say, hey, got 2 of y'all arrested for this crime. First one who talks will get the best deal. Good luck. And and I would think if anybody's going to say anything, it may be that dang 17-year-old, what they call juvenile. But now if he ends up being found that they actually killed Daniel Erving, then the juvenile's name will probably be made public. Now I asked a research to see what are the charges or what are the consequences that these two can face if they're found guilty of the current charges and if charges are upgraded. So say currently Lucas Roper faces a charge of tampering with or fabricating physical evidence under the Texas Penal Code subsection 37.09. Now the adult penalty, which is will be Lucas Roper, in most cases involving deleted messages or discarded property, tampering with physical evidence is classified as a 3rd-degree felon in Texas. If convicted, Roper faces 2 to 10 years in Texas State Prison and a fine of up to $10,000. In Texas, if the evidence tampered with, altered, or concealed involves a human corpse, the charge automatically upgrades to a second-degree felony, punishable by 2 to 20 years in prison. Because Roper is accused of abandoning the scene after Erving drowned without calling for help, prosecutors could seek an upgrade if they argue his actions directly delayed the recovery or concealed the location of the body. Now, for the juvenile, because he is under 18, his case is currently handled in the juvenile justice system. The focus is heavily on rehabilitation, which could range from intensive probation up to placement in a Texas Juvenile Justice Department facility until he turns 19. However, depending on his exact role, prosecutors could petition to transfer him to adult court, where he would face the same felony penalties as Roper. Now, if proved to have something to do with the death, if the active Dallas Police Department death investigation reveals that the boys didn't just panic after an accidental drowning, but actually played an active role in causing Erving's death, the legal consequences escalate severely. Depending on the degree of intent or recklessness, prosecutors could introduce stacked charges. Criminally negligent homicide. If they pushed him, dared him under highly dangerous conditions, or engaged in actions where they should have known there was a substantial risk of death, they could face this charge. Punishment 180 days to 2 years in a state jail facility. Now, for manslaughter, it would be a second-degree felony if they acted recklessly, meaning they were fully aware of an immediate severe danger to Erving's life, but consciously disregarded it. For instance, forcing or intentionally shoving someone into the water who cannot swim. Well, I don't know if he can swim or not. I didn't see that in the news story. But that's punishment from 2 to 20 years in state prison. Now, if they get charged with murder, first-degree felony, if evidence proves there was an intentional act to cause serious bodily injury or death, such as holding him underwater or trapping him, the punishment is 5 to 99 years or life in prison. And finally, the failure to render aid factor. Texas does not have a general Good Samaritan law that legally forces an ordinary bystander to rescue a drowning person. However, a criminal charge can stick if a person created the danger in the first place and then walked away. If Roper or the juvenile put Erving in a position where he drowned and they actively fled instead of calling 911, that failure to act satisfies the element of criminal negligence or recklessness required for homicide charges. Furthermore, in Texas, sentences for separate crimes like manslaughter and tampering with evidence can be ordered to run consecutively, which means stacked one after the other, rather than concurrent, drastically increasing total prison time. So now, okay. So you heard the story. You heard what they've been charged with and what they could potentially be charged with. Here's my issue, and I've already touched on this. If you did nothing wrong, why would you panic? I know kids that if they saw someone drowning, they would try to run again. They'll try to help the person out or try to call 911. That's the one thing about swimming. If you are a good swimmer and you know about swimming, things that you know, there are two things you're going to do if you think you can swim. One thing, you want to try to help the person. That's number one. But there are two things you're going to do in the act of trying to help somebody. If you can swim, pull them to shore, you'll do it. If that's the one thing. You're going to go try to get them, pull them to shore. Number two, if you try to pull them to shore and they fight you, you'll figure out a way to kick them off of you. You'll know how to kick them off, or you grab them from the back and then pull them with you. And then it's two of y'all. So it does not seem that they tried to render aid at all. How quickly did he drown? Who knows? But if you didn't render aid, that's a problem. Major red flag. They took his clothes. Now, they said they jumped off a freaking bridge. Y'all saw the bridge. Why would you jump off a bridge but you didn't swim off that bridge. I mean, you didn't fish off that bridge for sure. So you had to have, I don't know. As high as that bridge was, you didn't fish off that bridge. Now I haven't been to Lake Ray Hubbard, but I have fished on banks. And if you, like I say, fish, you're going to fish off a bank. You're not going to jump off no bridge. You're not going to fish off no bridge. So why in the heck would you jump off a bridge? That doesn't make sense either. But the thing I want to say is, man, it seems like lately how come it seems like when things happen to our people by a different race of people, or it just seems like it happens in multiples. Because we talked about this story, talked about the Nolan Wells story. There's another story where another football player was out with his friends and something happened to him. We need to make sure that we teach our children. If they want to have friends of people of other races, I'm talking about black kids. You want to have friends with people of other races. You have to always have a feeling that you can't. Y'all gotta be cautious, depending on who you with and who you around, because a lot of times there could be, I don't know, maybe jealousy, could be some hate, could be something built up for a long time, and then all of a sudden, sometimes people feel a little too comfortable harming you just because of the color of your skin. And it ain't just grown. That's something we learn. That's something we are learning. Well, I've always known, but I think it's opened up a lot of people's eyes that it's not, these old people are not the only ones that just don't like us. You know what I'm saying? They pass this stuff that I tell people all the time in old videos I did, that my mother would tell me stories about how she was treated in a little small town that she was from. And she's telling me these stories, and I thought, well, you know what? If she's telling me what happened with her, that means them same people, they done taught their kids and told their kids stories also. And so it's just passed down from one generation to the next generation. So you cannot believe that racism is dead. You cannot believe that everybody's going to run around with hoods and capes, white hoods, and going to burn crosses in your yard. It's just not going to happen. It's things evolve, and your mentality has to evolve. You have to understand that who knows, this may not be a racially motivated crime. You just never know. But if it is, even if it isn't, you can be cordial with people. Even Mr. Neely Fuller would say you can't have friends in this society because of how it's created and what it's based on. You have to be wary of who you hang with. You can be cool with them. Just always keep a side. Always keep a side eye, one eye on them folk, because you just never know. It makes no sense. What I'm trying to say is it just does not make sense that this happened and a friend of yours would not call 911 or would not try to help you if they were truly your friends. I wonder if Mr. Erving was not a black boy, if he was of another race. Hell, it might have been planned from the jump to do something to do. I believe it was. I believe they intentionally went out to harm this young fella and take his life and have him drown, because it don't make sense. But we shall see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think I will be. But these are just cases where you have to say, man, you got to be wary of who your friends are, because everybody ain't your friend. It's just the same. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. I can ramble on all night. Tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below and share this with the world. With that being said, I leave you in peace and love, and I'll see you on the other side.